So, Madoka episodes 7 through 9.
Yeah.
A fun time for everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, these bitches be gay.
They be so gay!
They very gay.
They so gay! Fuck you!
And traumatized.
Yeah. Just like us!
Yeah. Yay!
Right, everything will be fine in the end.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, Madoka. So, that was something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. These have like 2 of my favorite scenes from the series in them. Like these 3 episodes. So.
Yeah. I'm... Just before I really get into it, I just want to say, like, I am pleasantly surprised at how things actually happen. And, like, it doesn't peter around. Like, there aren't scenes that mean nothing. There aren't, like, bits of plot that don't really go anywhere. It's like, it all serves the purpose of propelling the story in its own sort of little way.
I think it just helps that, like, this entire story happens within a span of, like, what is it, like a week or, like, a couple weeks?
It's from March 20... Wait, hold on, let me get
this
right.
You have exact days!
Of course you know the exact fucking day.
It's like March to mid-April, but I have to remember
That's
exactly.
still, like, a couple weeks, is what I'm getting at here. Like, it's a very short amount of time for all this to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, Sayaka walks into a room. Interesting, I know.
Someone asked why the long face.
And then has a go at Kyubey, being like, hey, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell us, you creepy fuck? And, Kyubey was like, hey, well, I mean, like, I kinda told you, but, like, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but, like, it's what you signed up for, and I mean, hey, Mami didn't know until the very end, so, like it's not
Mami didn't know
I
at all.
kept it specifically from you.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, so it's like, really, this is on you, Sayaka. Anyway, Kyubey explains more and is like, hey, you humans, girls, normal schoolgirls are really soft and squidgy and easy to break. So in order to make you a magical girl, to survive the pain that you go through, we take your jelly and we jam it into like a tiny little receptacle. So now basically all of you is in this egg, and then we put some steel plates around your body. So now your body's a steel trap. You're a steel trapped zombie. Whoops. You're not okay with that, Sayaka? Oh, damn. Well, you already signed the contract, buddy. Oh, sorry about that. And Sayaka's like, what the why? Why do this? And then Kyubey is like, hey, like, listen, you don't feel pain. Like, imagine you got speared, like, had a spear go through your chest. Like, you wouldn't really feel it that much, but hey, this is what happens if you actually felt it. And, like, puts his little paw on the soul gem, and Sayaka writhes around on the floor, being like, stop, please, that tickles. Just kidding, she's in immense pain. Anyway, Sayaka is just like, why do this? What's the fuck? And Kyubey's like, I mean, your wish hasn't really come true yet either, so, like, I mean, we've gotta make that happen. So then we cut to Madoka at school, and, oh, hey, Sayaka just isn't at school, because, you know, she's under her blankets, traumatized and shit. Whoops. Turns out, you know, dying and then coming back and then realizing that you're kind of a zombie is kind of traumatizing.
What? Who would have thought?
I know, right? And then, Homura meets up with Madoka, and Homura's just like, listen, honestly, I think the gem shit's a fair price to pay. I mean, like, nothing's free. Like, this is the price. Like, you get a wish and you become this fighting machine. Like, the price you pay is that you have one incredibly delicate part of you that you need to protect. Like, it hurts, but it serves its purpose and disconnects you so you can focus on what's important. Also, it was like, with great power comes great responsibility, Madoka, and, you know, don't confuse responsibility with compassion. Don't.
Don't.
Okay? Don't,
do
please.
it.
It's
Don't.
really...
Become the Joker,
Madoka, listen to
Madoka.
me. Madoka, listen to me. It's really important that you don't confuse responsibility with compassion and make a huge mistake, okay? And Madoka's like, what? I'm the Joker. Because Madoka's like, what? I don't like society anymore. We cut to Kyoko, who's trying to cheer Sayaka up and is like, hey, come with me. And Sayaka's like, depressed, emotionless. Okay, yes, sure, will do. Kyoko takes her to an abandoned church and tells her the story about, hey, there was a priest here. Long story short, he lost his congregation and everyone sort of left and he was excommunicated from the community and everything was terrible for them. And hey, it was my dad, by the way. And we were...
Just by the way.
Worse off... yeah, just by the way. We were worse off for it, and then Cube came to me and I made my wish to make people listen to my dad again. And people came back in droves and listened to him, and it was great. Everything was great. Until my father found out that they came back due to magic that was my doing, and said that... essentially said some mean things to Kyoko, corrupting influence, etc., etc. What the fuck have you done? Like, this is all a lie. He then drank his life away, also killed his entire family and himself, and Kyoko puts the moral on the message of, hey, Sayaka, my wish destroyed my entire family. That's why you need to be careful with your wishes, because miracles aren't free. Like, this is just how it works. Like, you don't get anything for free. Things will just... There's a price for everything. Yeah. Everything has its price.
We live in a society.
She's like...
We live in a society.
She's like, we made our wishes for other people, and that was probably kind of dumb, but now you have to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and that's it. It's like, this is why you make your wishes for yourself, and use your magic only for yourself, and I want to help you with that. Like, I don't want you to it took me ages to figure out how to do it myself. I want to help, like, you, so you don't have to go through that alone. Like, use your magic only for yourself. And Sayaka's like, hey, you know those apples you're eating? How'd you pay for them? And Kyoko's like, what? Shut up. And Sayaka's like, exactly. Like, I still have my sense of morality. Like, you say that things will be easy, but it's like, well... what's involved with being a magical girl, having to sacrifice people like this, having to fight like this is just not... I'm not up to it. I can't do this, and like I don't conform to your moral standards that you have, because I hold myself to higher esteem. Which, Kyoko gets angry at and eats an apple, and when she's like, you don't need to eat, and she's like, I do it to feel human. Essentially. And Sayaka leaves and is like, hey, you're welcome to try and kill me again, Kyoko, but you're not gonna win. Like, you're not gonna win. I'm gonna beat you. There's no way you're gonna win. Sayaka then goes back to school and pretends everything's fine with Madoka, and Madoka's like, haha, okay, you're fine, I guess. And oh, hey, her boyfriend, who's not her boyfriend. Wow, what? What? Turns out she hasn't even confessed to him.
What?
He's back at school, and she's like, oh. And Madoka's like, hey, you should go talk to him. And she's like, but no. How can I? And then Sayaka sits down with Hitomi, and Hitomi's like, hey, I have something to confess. I'm a lesbian. No. What she does confess is that she's in love with Kamijo, and she's like, hey, I don't want to step over your feelings or anything. Like, I don't want to cut in line if you're actually going to act on anything, but you got to be true to yourself, Sayaka. I'll give you 1 day to confess to him. Otherwise, like, I'm going to confess to him tomorrow, so I'm giving you 1 day. If you confess before then, I won't say anything, but, like, hey, I'm not going to wait forever. Sayaka is like, what? I don't love him. What?
Actually, I'm pretty sure Hitomi's just like, no, you have 1 day. And regardless if Sayaka tells him, I think she was also going to tell him. I don't think there was any caveat of her being like, you need one day to do it before me first, and you get to get him first, basically.
Yeah, basically
that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, basically she's like, hey, ask him out, if he goes out with you, he goes out with you. And if not, then I'm gonna hit him up,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sayaka's like, but oh my god, what? No, this is fine, everything's fine. Sayaka then goes out on a night in the town, and Madoka's at her door again, is like, hey, can I come with you? And Sayaka just breaks down immediately, is like, why are you so nice to me? This isn't fair, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. Like, you're too nice, this isn't right. And Madoka's like, what? And Sayaka's like, hey, I had this really intrusive thought, like, that constantly running through my head of just, like, what if I just didn't save Hitomi back at that warehouse? What if I just let her die? Everything would be fine. Like, she wouldn't be trying to love the boy that I love. But even if I was with him, it doesn't matter, because he's never going to be able to hold me or love me, because, I mean, I'm just this fucking zombie now. Like, I'm a husk. How can he love me when I am this? I am no longer human. I am just this complete alien now. And Madoka's like, what? Everything's gonna be fine. Sure. Oh boy. Then we cut to Homura and Kyoko hanging over a building, sort of staring out into the night sky, and Kyoko's sitting there looking at some grief seed labyrinth explosion, and Homura's like, what you doing? And Kyoko's like, damn, she's taking fucking forever. We cut to inside, and Sayaka is fighting the witch inside, and is doing middlingly okay, but then Kyoko comes in to help her, and Sayaka's like, stay back, bitch, this one's mine. And Sayaka demands to fight it alone because she finally snaps. Kyoko helping her out she was already teetering on the edge, but Kyoko coming in to help her out because, she thought Sayaka couldn't do it alone. And, even just from a point of, like, wanting to help out Sayaka, makes Sayaka snap. Because, she's been told this entire thing of, like, Madoka's more powerful than you. Like, everyone's more powerful than you. Like, you need people to help you. You can't do this alone. And it causes her to snap. She goes completely psychopathic, kills the witch, and whilst doing so, acknowledges and screams that, hey, if I just don't care, everything's so much better. Everything's better if I just don't care anymore. Like, it's so much easier to just not care. And she loses herself completely to being a magical girl and completely lets go of her humanity. Completely disconnecting her, and, that's the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. Sayaka has,
a wee bit of trauma.
Wee bit of trauma. That's
just a little. It's fine. She'll be fine. They're gonna listen. This is a magical girl anime, so they're gonna work together and help each other out and get through this. That's how it works.
Well, we haven't gotten to the inflation episode. That is in the intro.
We really need to.
Oh, also, we should probably mention, Spooky, do you want to mention the really fun fact you found out, by the way? About magical girl genre?
So I was looking up things about Madoka and magical girls last night, because that's what I do in my free time. And I found out that the magical girl genre became a thing because the first person to make a magical girl series was influenced by the show Bewitched, which, if you don't know, is a 1960s, 1950s sitcom?
I believe 60s.
1964.
1964,
64 to 72.
So it was the first magical girl anime was Sally the Witch, and it all spawned from there. So we can thank Bewitched for Madoka.
Yeah. and when Spooky told me, I was like, that doesn't sound right. Like, I want to find a source on this. So like we spent like half an hour trying to find a source, and then it was from the author of the original manga themselves saying, this is just my main influence.
Yep.
And it's like, what? So if you like Madoka, thank Bewitched.
Yep.
Like,
and I was mentioning to Gamb, it's funny because I used to watch Bewitched with my grandma when I was a kid, so it's like, it's just like kind of a funny connection. Like that thing.
It makes
that
so
I watched
much
as, like,
sense for
my grandma.
you, Spooky.
Yeah, is now was the influence for my one of my favorite genres.
So
funny.
we see Sayaka being a murderous shit, and the entire labyrinth falls apart. Sayaka heals all her wounds, picks up the seat, and she's like, "Nah, I don't need it. You can have it, Kyoko." And Kyoko's like, "And I don't want to be in your debt. Let's go, Madoka. Wait, no, I'm really tired. Help me walk, please." It's rainy, and they're resting on a bench, and Madoka doesn't want Sayaka fighting the way she is, and you're lying. It totally does hurt you. Totally. And it's not good for you. And she's like, what the fuck is good for me, Madoka? How would you know? You're not a fucking magical girl. I'm a talking corpse. All I do is kill witches. What the fuck do you want from me? And Moto's like, I just want you to be happy. And so Sayaka goes, alright, then you fight then, bitch. Stop fucking trying to pity me and just, like, try to empathize with me by becoming a magical girl and fighting with me, because I'm the only one who's doing this right now, and you're just sitting on this fucking bench being like, don't do it! Sort of shit. And then there's a whole scene where she's standing in Madoka's tears and then walks away. And she's like, no, I'm so sad that I said those things. No! And then we see her soul gem get a little bit darker. Inside, Hamura's room, not Honduras. Thank you, Hamura's room.
we cut to Honduras. For a lovely tourist package.
I love when Google Docs recorrects like words in anime podcasts. It's the best. There's a guillotine in here, and her and Kyoko are talking about Walpurgisnacht. And QB shows up and is like, Kyoko is like, what the fuck? Why are you here? And he's like, I just wanted to say that Sayaka's already pretty much a witch and losing her shit and cursing the world around her. So that's bad. But also, I want to know what Hamura's magic is, because it's weird how many things you know, Hamura. I'm gonna go now. And apparently if Sayaka doesn't purify her gym soon, there's gonna be no going back. The next day, teacher's drinking more vodka in her coffee. Sayaka isn't there. Right. Hell yeah. Madoka calls to Sayaka's house, and they're like, yeah, she hasn't been here for, like, a couple days? So, I don't know. And, of course, Sayaka's watching this from afar, and the two of them talk, and watching the two friend and boyfriend talk. And she's watching them doki doki, basically, like the confession. And she's like, I'm depressed now. Which transitioned, more depressed, into Sayaka going batshit crazy for another witch labyrinth and murdering everything. Meanwhile, Hamura walks up and says, hey, you really don't need to target familiars, only witches. Sup?
Real quick, I just want to jump in, because that scene of Sayaka going batshit is such a great visual representation of what's going on in her mind as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's, she's essentially
drowning.
Over the edge at this point. Well, not the drowning part yet. That is definitely part of it. Well, okay, it is. But she's completely over the tipping point at this point, and now she's essentially tying up loose ends with her own humanity. Mm-hmm. Basically ensuring to herself, like, yes, like, this is the right decision, like, this is all fallen apart, this is all a mistake, everything's fallen apart, like, she even outright says things like, this life of being a magical girl is a zero-sum game, like, with all the hope you give, grief just fills it, mm-hmm. With all the grief you take away, like, it will always reset back to zero. There will always be pain.
Yeah.
And so
I
in
believe
this
they
scene,
worded it as like, as soon as you give, something has to take to make it like balance. And
yeah,
the Full Metal
zero-sum.
Alchemist, what is
It has to add to 0.
Equivalent exchange.
Yeah. That's what I mean by zero sum, because she mentioned zero sum too, which is, for those who don't know, is a game theory concept where all the values in play have to add to 0 in the end. Everything adds to 0. So in order for someone to win, someone has to lose. In order for someone to earn something, someone has to lose something. So because it all adds up to 0. Mm-hmm. That's what a zero sum game is. There's a lot to do with it, but that's the view that Sayaka is taking on the world and on being a magical girl right now. So you have her drowning not just in her sorrows, but in her own lost thought, losing her mind and humanity at the truth of what she really is and what she has done to herself.
Yeah, and even the cinematography in that scene is very, like, chaotic. Yeah, because... It's, like, turning and, like, as she's hitting, it's like, different, like, just different camera angles, like, different panning shots and stuff. It's all very, like, disorienting. And even the coloring of, like, the Familiar's Labyrinth that she's in is, like, very, like, dark with, like colors that clash in the background and things, too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, she is, by, not only is she, like, trying to get over her humanity by continuing to be a magical girl and letting out her aggression in these labyrinths, but also every strike she does, she's also destroying her own memories in a sense. Like, she's not getting rid of them, but she's, like, replacing them and replacing herself no longer with Sayaka, but the magical girl Sayaka.
Yeah.
Like, she is, like, every slice, every attack, she is going deeper and deeper and deeper into this worldview that she has lost herself in and has been, spoiler, set up to be lost in by a lawyer. Anyway, continue, dear.
Well, her gym is basically at its limits, and Homura even gives her a grief seed, which she refuses. She's like, I'm gonna be a different magical girl, someone who doesn't use people, and I'm only here to kill witches, and then I'm okay with just dying if that's what it evolves into. It's a zero sum, what Gamb said. Sayaka, of course, can... God damn it.
She essentially goes into this rant of, like, hey, I'm gonna be different. I'm not gonna use magic at all. Like I'm not gonna harm people. And then Homer is like, but then you're not gonna be a magical girl because you're gonna die. And Sayaka's like, yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not seeking rewards, so I refuse to take rewards, so...
Yeah, it's like, that's the end point, I know it is, and I want it.
Yep, Sayaka's like, if I can't fight witches anymore, then I'm worthless anyway, so... Because that's all I am now. I'm not human, I am just a witch hunter, and that is it.
Yeah.
Mood. Anyway, keep going.
Uh-huh. And Sayaka's like, well, you're just lying to literally everyone, like, I could literally see through you. And you don't care about me, all you care about is maybe, like, Madoka or whatever. But then Homura says this has everything to do with Madoka, and I actually don't care about you, so I'm gonna kill you. And and she really was that bitch and was like, you just don't care about me, and Homura was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe in the dub, Homura says, you're right, I don't give a damn if you die, and I'm like, okay, Homura.
I believe it is because she's saying, like, because she's like, you're just gonna do this to Madoka, you're gonna cause all this grief, and then Sayaka's like, this has nothing to do with Madoka, and Momura's just like, it has everything to do with Madoka.
Yeah, and this is the first time in the series that you actually see Homura's, like, thoughts towards Madoka, right? Like, prior to, like, you know she's trying to get her to stop being a magical girl, but you don't really get it. And then this scene, she's like, Madoka is literally the most important fucking person. And if killing you will help, like, relieve any grief from her, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're gonna be like that, like, yeah, I don't care about you. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for Madoka.
Yep.
Like, Sayaka, I couldn't give a shit about you. Like, if you live or die, it doesn't matter to me. unless it affects Madoka, in which case it is right now, so you're gonna go bye-bye now.
Mm-hmm. So Hamura, like, goes to kill her. Kyoko stops her. Sayaka leaves, and then Hamura drops a fucking grenade. Meanwhile, Sayaka's on a train listening to how women are horrible human beings by these two guys that are in the corner, and having lived through that, it's disgusting as shit. It hurts more the second time I hear it. Sayaka comes up, she's, hey, tell me more about that girl you were talking about. She probably loves you. Did you ever thank her? What the fuck? Is this world even worth protecting? And then her hand starts to meld over with the grief and from her ring, and she murders them off screen. Meanwhile, Kyubi is talking to Madoka and says it's beyond my power to save Sayaka. It's not. Madoka asks if she'd be the strongest magical girl ever, and he goes, yeah, you would. Your power is so much and twist the fabric of the universe. Madoka's like, I thought I was useless. I could literally become God. And he's like, yeah. Madoka nearly makes her wish, and Kyubi gets fucking shot to pieces. And then asks Madoka why must she always sacrifice herself like she doesn't matter.
Hamura does.
Yeah, she asks Madoka why she must always sacrifice herself like she doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And starts crying over her. Madoka's like, fucking, what? Gets kind of staticky brained and then goes, have we met? I don't remember you. I need to find Sayaka. Bye. And then Kyubi's okay, alive again, but eats his old dead body. And Hamura has revealed to Kyubi at this point that she is time magic. And he's like, you're not from this timeline, are you? And she's like, and then she calls him an incubator, and no one knows what that means right now. But Kyoko comes up to find Sayaka and tries to comfort her, and she's like, I don't care about anything anymore. And Sayaka shows that her gym is pretty much pure black now, and she's like, oh fuck, I'm an idiot. Starts crying, I fucked up so bad, and she becomes a witch and blows away her lifeless body off to the side. And Kyubi mentions in a single scene that girls in this world who are made to be witches should be called magical girls. And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's like, young women in this world are called girls, so therefore it makes sense, since when you become older, you'll become witches. We would call you magical girls. Smile. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh. Yeah. Can we also talk really quick about the fact that Kyubei's name is literally incubator? It's literally in the word, which is fun. It's just a fun little thing. It's like,
I never realized that, did I?
Fun little pun.
I didn't realize it my first watch through. I didn't realize it until I think I saw the movie, and then I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Real quick, before we go any further, we need to talk about the Sayaka realization scene, because
yes.
I feel like she doesn't realize that everything she's done in like the past day or so was a mistake. I think she's so far gone, like, because when in the scene where we see her don't see her kill two guys, after her hand gets filled with the staticky, grief, you see it for like half a second, few frames of her full body growing with the grief as well over her entire body, until you see her psychotic eye sort of cover as well, and then the scene cuts. But it's like, it's sort of this, she comes to this realization of, it's not even a realization, it's more just the culmination of everything she's been thinking the past few days, of like, I regret everything I've done with, like, killing these people and realizing what I have about the world. I regret being a magical girl because it's shown me the truth.
I think she regrets... I think it's both, right? Like, because she is so far gone from her initial goal of what she wanted to do as a magical girl, but also she regrets being a magical girl at all. Because I think she specifically even says, like, what would Mami think of me if she saw me right now? Like...
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like she's just regretting every decision she has made, and realizing that her goals were unobtainable goals. You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Yeah, and it's sort of like, because it, like, I'm now realizing that, like, this was all a terrible mistake. Like, I was... Almost like, she's like, there was no way I could have...
Yeah.
Like, I was so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, she even says, I was so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, to think that I could do this and not fail.
Yeah, and she even
I
says,
wish I never did it.
Yeah, and, like, prior to that, like, directly before that, she tells Kyoko, like, you were right, I should have listened to you. But I was just kind of too stubborn to do it. It's so good. I think we also need to talk a little bit about Homura. The Homura scene with Madoka.
Yeah.
When... Yeah, she fucking blasts Kyuvei to another dimension and then is like, Madoka, why do you always want to sacrifice yourself? Stop it. You're important. You mean something to people. Don't do this. And
yeah,
it's
have
like,
you not thought about the grief you'd cause other people?
Yeah, and it's
by
like
sacrificing yourself like this.
Yeah, and it's the first time we really see Homura like show emotion.
Any emotion.
Yeah,
I literally have it written in my notes. Just Homura shows an emotion.
Yeah, like she starts crying and she's like, Madoka, please, and Madoka just kind of like rejects her in that moment. Like Homura's like on the ground crying, and Madoka's like, sorry, I have to go find Sayaka, and Homura's yelling, like, wait, Madoka, like, and it's just so
she's like,
good.
Don't, like, Sayaka's gone, don't chase after Sayaka, like, stop. Like, Madoka, please.
Yeah, and then finding out, like, you know, Kyubei saying, you're not from this timeline, are you? So it's like, oh, Homura cares about Madoka, and Madoka in this timeline has no fucking idea. Yeah. So it's, like, really good, like, Homura's, like, despair and Madoka, please, I'm trying to save you, you mean so much to me, and then Madoka being like, sorry, I have to go find the person that I care about right now, who is my best friend. Yeah. So it's really good. Yeah, and like the split second of Madoka being like, wait, have we met before? Like the timelines like kind of converge there for a second where Madoka like almost remembered.
Yeah.
Do you remember episode 1, the opening scene?
Yep.
Very specific. Oh, you mean the sort of flash forward bit? Yeah. When we get to the end of episode 9, I'll talk about, like, because during the commentary, there's a whole section in episode 9 where I was like, wait a minute.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So we'll get to that after.
I'm actually more, well, no, yeah, go ahead. Finish episode 9.
Because we need to talk about what happens in episode 9 before I start making wild accusations and speculations. So episode 9 opens. Hey, remember when Sayaka fucking died? Yeah, that just happened. So, hey, just like Kyubei said to the audience, a labyrinth is born out of Sayaka, and whoops.
Oops.
Hey, here's a really cool intro. Remember the inflation episode? We cut to shots of the city. It's empty. The city's completely empty. Madoka walking... wait, sorry, I just accidentally skipped a few lines. Sorry, forget the city bit, because first, Kyoko's inside the labyrinth next to Sayaka's dead body, because, you know, that just exploded. And Kyoko's like, I'm gonna fight this witch, what the fuck just happened? And Homura's like, bitch, get the fuck out of here, we need to run now, we're not gonna be able to do shit, like, just, it's not worth, just get out of here. And Kyoko's like, what? Fine, whatever. They escape, and then the intro begins. Sorry, I don't know why I just completely glossed over those lines. Anyway, the city's completely empty. Madoka's walking alone through the city, on the railway tracks, essentially. And as she gets to a literal train crossroads, Homura and Kyoko arrive with Sayaka's body. And... I still can't get over the fact that they're literally standing on a crossroads. Homura reveals to Madoka the whole soul gem to grief seeds bit, and is essentially like, hey, in the end, we all turn into grief seeds. All magical girls turn into grief seeds in the end. Like, that's how it ends. Like, we all die. Like, that's how you're gonna die. And Madoka's just like, but Sayaka was so pure. She had such a sense of justice. She was good. She wanted to be like this. She wanted to help the world. And Homura's just like, trauma, bitch. and basically says to Madoka, listen, kind of like what Sayaka said about a zero sum. It's like, for every person she helped, there's now, as a witch, she will now curse another. It is basically as Sayaka said, like, she will hurt more people than she helped because of the way that she's become a witch now, and that's just what she is. And, you know, zero-sum games. Hey, the universe always resets to zero. I'm sure that doesn't come into play any other factor in this show.
Not at all.
So, Homura is back to being emotionless, and Kyoko grabs her and is like, what the fuck? Like, what? You're just gonna act like, you can't just, like, Sayaka just died and you're, like, acting like this still. Like, can you give us some straight fucking answers and, like, be a decent human being, essentially? To which, Homura just says, hey, you need to get rid of that body. Don't be seen with it, or else, you know, you'll, like, things will be complicated. And then just swishes her hair and, walks away. We cut to Madoka being traumatized in her bed, sitting on her bed, just absolutely mourning the loss of her best friend. Bright light at the window, and we see the shadow of Kyubey come into focus. And he's like, hey, let me in. Let me in. Let me in. I want to talk. Let me in. And Madoka's like, what? Is what Homura said about, like, the witches thing true? And Kyubey's like, yep. And she's like, what? Like, you didn't tell us this. And he's like, I mean, I did, I kind of, like, it's kind of odd. Like, really, this is on you, Madoka? Like, I mean, we didn't, like, this is just how things work. Like, this isn't out of any ill will towards, like, you or Sayaka or even humanity in general. Like, this is just how things work. Like, there are bigger things at play here, Madoka. Like, the balance of the universe is kind of at stake with a lot of this. Like, hey, by the way, do you understand the concept of entropy?
Yep.
Madoka's like, what? And Kyubey is like, listen, we long past the point of the universe of entropy destroying the universe, so we had to come up with block form computation, and that's why on Logopolis we have these people constantly computing numbers in order to keep the universe alive and channeling the entropy into E-space. Sorry, I'm talking about a Doctor Who episode.
Oh.
Kyubey talks about the fact that, hey,
Damn,
there is
wrong
only
podcast.
one... Yeah. Basically what I'm saying is Madoka ripped off Doctor Who, and I will be sending this to the BBC to sue them.
Yeah, because entropy is a concept that Doctor Who came up with.
Of course, only Doctor Who.
It is. Legally it is. So Kyubey essentially goes on to say, hey, magical girls are basically the only power known to essentially bypass the laws of thermodynamics. A boundless energy can come from the power of magical girls. So my people, lawyers, developed technology to essentially harness the power of emotions and sort of the raw emotional power that a magical girl channels.
It's more specifically the moment they become a witch is when the energy is released.
He kind of overtly says that in two places. And he's like, listen, you humans are so emotional. Jesus, fuck, you have so many emotions. Like,
Jesus.
Madoka, you could power, like, Chicago for 20 years. And he's like, the best ones are, like, second grade magical girls who fluctuate between hope and despair. And is like, essentially, Madoka, when a grief seed, when your soul gem turns into a grief seed, it releases a shit ton of energy, and that's real tasty. We like that. That's some good shit, and that's the life cycle of the magical girl. You ensure you fight the witches. The witches die. Release the the witches die after essentially resetting the balance to zero through the good they did as a magical girl, and then the magical girl then becomes a witch, releases the energy, they harness the energy, and then the cycle begins again. It is a cycle of energy and exploitation in a way, which Madoka kind of points out. Is like, what the fuck? So I'm just a battery to you, essentially. I'm just to die for you. And Kyubei's like, listen, Madoka, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. We all need energy in the universe, and, like, your sacrifice is worth it. Like, there are countless civilizations in the universe. How would you, like, feel when, like, your civilization's gonna get up there someday? Like, how would you feel if you got up there and there was nothing left? Because, like, energy just ran out because of the fact that entropy is a bitch. And Madoka's like, but how can you say that it's okay? Like, how can you say that this is, like, fine? How do you live with yourself? And Kyubei's like, well, we get your permission. You signed a contract, so that means you were okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, there's 6.9 billion people on the planet. Nice. Why should you cry over the loss of a handful, Madoka? Like, it's only a handful of people. Like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, the amount good you're doing, like, for the universe as a whole, like, it's worth it. Trust me. Just trust me, Madoka. Madoka's like, wow, you really are kind of an enemy then. Like, I guess Homura was right. And Kyubei is just like, your incredible good has done so much for the universe. Foreshadowing. One day, you'll also, like, be the best magical girl and also the most wicked witch. Good luck, then. If you ever feel like dying for the universe, give me a call. That's not even me paraphrasing. He literally says that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he says that. As he's leaving the window. Then we cut to Kyoko, who's eating a lot of food. And Kyubei is like, hey, why are you eating? And Kyoko's like, because I'm sad, bitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Kyubei's like, listen, like, you know, maybe there is a way that you could save Sayaka. Like, here, let me just... And Kyoko's like, I mean, are you sure? Like, I don't trust you. Kyubei's like, come on, trust me, come on, I want to help you out, come on. I have no ulterior motives. I mean, it's me. I'm a little guy. Look at me. I'm a little guy. Come on, don't beat me up. I'm a little guy. Kyoko's like, okay, I'll do it, just because I want to save Sayaka. We cut to Madoka talking with Hitomi, and Hitomi's like, Madoka, why are you sad? And Madoka's just like, Hitomi, I'm depressed. And Hitomi's like, well, I'm on odd terms with Sayaka right now, so I was just wondering if she said anything to
Hitomi's
you.
like,
Just
well,
she
I'm
wants
rich
to.
and perfect, and I stole Sayaka's man. So-
Yeah. And Madoka's just like, what? And then, like, hears Kyoko mentally talking to her and is like, I'm sorry, who are you, Hitomi? And Kyoko's like, hey, Madoka, come with me. Like, why are you going to school? Like, after everything that happened, like, especially now that you know, like, the truth of everything, why are you going to school? There's no point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is literally no point, Madoka. It's not what you're meant to do. You are not meant to do this, and there is no point in you doing it. And it's just going to make you feel worse. So come with me instead. And Madoka's like, I don't know. And Kyoko's like, do you want to save Sayaka? And Madoka's like, you sure this will work? And Kyoko's like, come on, it's got to. Like, you are told, like, we're told that you're incredibly powerful, and, you know, like, the power of witches is through powerful emotion, so maybe you'd be able to reach her. Like, I'll protect you. Like, we can do this. Like, you don't have to come with me. Like, I'm not going to force you, but, like, I can't guarantee I can protect you fully, but if you want to come watch me kill your best friend, let's do it. And she's like, maybe when I slice that witch in half, like, a Sayaka soul gem will just pop out. And it's like, oh, Kyoko, I don't know if you actually believe that, or you're wanting to believe that, or you're just saying that because you want Madoka to believe that, but oh, that's such a sad line. Anyway, Madoka's like, okay, fine, I'll come with you. Hi, my name's Madoka, and Kyoko's like, man, you're already cramping my style. Which, you know, is a nice little callback to the way Kyoko used to be when she didn't even know any of these people or know anything really about Magical Girl, other than what she learnt herself and whatever she knew before this series. And she's like, hey, by the way, Madoka, some shit's gonna go down in a few days, so, yeah, that's fucking wild, huh? Madoka's like, what? What do you mean? Kyoko's like, yeah, well, Purgaschnacht is gonna happen. And Madoka's like, well, Purgaschnacht?
Well, Purgaschnacht.
Big bad witch gonna be there, gonna be shit. It's gonna be shit. It's gonna be fun. And then she's like, okay, let's go. And then they go inside the labyrinth. And then as soon as they get inside, the door's shut. And Madoka's like, all I do is trail behind other people. It's all I'm good for. But can I still trail behind you here, please? And Kyoko's like, yeah. And she's like, I guess I'm just a coward. Like, I guess that's just me. And then Kyoko's like, then why would you want to be a magical girl? And Madoka's like, why? And Kyoko's like, don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate the life you have, Madoka. You get to eat food. You have a loving family. Like, you have a normal life. Like, why would you give it all up for this? Like, if you even think about giving it up on something so rash and dumb, I will beat you the fuck up.
Best girl.
Like, I'll beat you up.
Best girl.
You bitch.
Best girl.
Wait and actually think more about this. Like, actually think about it. Because this is actually fucking important. Anyway, doors shut behind them, they're locked inside. Oh, shit. Maybe Sayaka knows they're there. Even though it's not Sayaka anymore, but whatever.
It's still basically
they go into this
Sayaka.
massive auditorium, where, Kyoko's like, okay, let's do this. And Madoka's like, Mario! Mario!
Mario!
And is calling out to Sayaka, being like, hey, can you... You're not like this isn't you. Come back, please. Please, baby, come back. You can blame it all on me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not working. Nothing's really happening. We then cut to Kyoko's point of view with things. And Kyoko's essentially feeling... almost going back on everything she said herself and set herself up to be, because she's realizing, like, Sayaka, why are you being so stubborn? Like, come on. Like, if I knew you were going to be this stubborn about it, like I wouldn't have done it like this. And whilst she's also getting beaten up by the witch Sayaka, and then she sort of reflects on the pain, and sort of goes, this is just payback for the first time we met, isn't it? Because she's reflecting on her, on Sayaka, and reflecting on how she knew her, and what Sayaka meant to her, and sort of, like, thinking more about, like, hey, why am I doing this? Like, why do I care? Like, why do I care? Like, what is going on here? We cut back to Madoka, who's still trying to reach Sayaka, but nothing's working. It's just not working at all. We cut back to Kyoko. Basically, when we cut to Madoka, it is external dialogue. We hear the fight very clearly. We hear Madoka almost being overrun audio-wise by the battle itself. She's being drowned out. Yes, that pun is intentional. Then we cut to Kyoko, who is an inner monologue. A complete inner monologue. The fight is completely muffled in the background. We solely hear Kyoko because she's so focused and she's so determined and so solely focused on the goal of Sayaka. She's completely focused on it and on Sayaka herself. And so we hear Kyoko go, man, you're so stubborn. I'm sorry. I should have done better to teach you, to be more forceful with teaching you. I shouldn't have underestimated you. I should have... Reflecting more and more on, even in the short time that they knew each other, just whatever their relationship was. And Kyoko essentially realizing that, hey, you're actually worth it, Sayaka. And we cut back to Madoka's point of view, and Madoka has been grabbed by the witch, and oh fuck, she's about to be really hurt. And Kyoko cuts Madoka down, and Homura shows up and grabs Madoka, and Kyoko realizes what she's just said to herself, that Sayaka is worth it, and everything she said up to this point, everything she is, everything she was, saying magic should only be used for yourself, using it on someone else is worthless. There is it is not worth it because it will only harm others. You need to use it solely for yourself. It is inherently selfish. And Kyoko just realizes, I was wrong. Like, sometimes there is someone worth using the magic on, and Sayaka is worth it to me.
God, and you get my favorite piece of dialogue when Kyoko is falling, like from that scene.
Yep, I have it written down word for word as
Hell
well, because
yeah.
I fucking loved it. And she cuts, as she's falling from cutting down Madoka, you hear, like, Homura come to this decision in her mind, and she just says, God, please look at my life and let me have one happy dream for once. And she just hits the floor, and she has completely made up her mind. Homura has grabbed Madoka, pulled her to safety, and is like, come on, Kyoko, let's get out of here. Like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And Kyoko's like, I fucked up. I shouldn't have brought her here. I shouldn't have done this. This was an entire mistake. Get Madoka out of here. And then she essentially externalizes what she's been thinking to herself about, I was wrong. Like, I fucked up with Sayaka.
Yeah.
And
she says you gotta protect the thing that's the most important to you till the end.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I didn't realize until now that, like, the thing that was most important to me, I turned out to be Sayaka.
Gay.
And in a whirlwind of emotions, Kyoko grabs her hairpin, flicks her hair open, grabs her hairpin, kisses the jewel on it, and explodes in essentially Sayaka's face, and sacrifices herself to save Madoka and Homura, and
to be with Sayaka.
Absolutely,
so that Sayaka
just
won't be alone.
Be with Sayaka, so Sayaka won't be alone, because one of her final words is just on the lines of, you don't have to be alone, Sayaka. Like, this life is alone, but you and I don't have to be alone. And then we cut, kind of rather abruptly outside to Homura sitting by herself in her apartment. Kyoko's no longer there, but Kyubei is. And Kyubei just comes up to Homura and says, listen, there's nothing you can do to stop me now. The only thing that was really going your way that would have helped you was having Kyoko on your side, and, like, maybe you stood a chance, but hey, I got rid of Kyoko, so now she's no longer a problem, and there's nothing you can do. Madoka will be forced to become a magical girl, and you can't stop it, Homura.
He said good.
And then the episode ends.
Yep. He said Walpurgis Nacht is coming, and you needed another person to help you fight it. And Homura says, no, I'll fight it alone. It's like, goddamn.
Yeah, Homura's just like, bitch, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not sacrificing Madoka.
Yep.
And yeah, that's the end of the episode. And yeah,
God.
Madoka good.
So, yeah. Did you want to say anything first before I dive into shit a little bit?
Well, I want to reflect more on the episode before I go off into the future, because we might have some
I'm going to
things
talk
say,
more about the
like...
episode too, yeah.
Okay, good. Sayaka and Kyoko are absolutely Lebsian. Like,
yeah, Sayaka's the bi rep that we need, and Kyoko's gay as shit. It's great.
Yep. It's like, this is... It is a beautiful... An absolutely beautiful story. Especially that final battle scene of, like, everything going on. The cinematography of it. Like, I didn't mention it, but when we have the internal monologues of Homura fighting, we actually don't even see the fight, really. It's zoomed in kind of on her mind, and
Kyoko?
Not just the audio muffled, but the outside is muffled too, with this grey sort of fog, because she's just so focused on reflecting on Sayaka and on Sayaka in general. It's like, that shit's so obvious, it hurts.
Yeah, people tonight the fuck out of it. Like, it's actually amusing. It's really amazing how in denial people are. So...
No, you don't get it, Spooky. Sayaka deserves to be with her prodigy boy.
Yeah, Kyosuke, basically the background character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's designed to look like just a background character. Gotta love him. Oh, Kyosuke.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite character.
And I mean, he, like you say, he's designed to be a background character, but I wouldn't even go that far. He's designed to be a plot point character, and that's all he is.
I just mean, like, design-wise, like, you know the joke of, like, you can always tell who the main character is in an anime.
You can always spot an anime.
Yeah. He looks like a not important character.
Yep. And, yeah.
Which he's important for plot, but... yeah, as a character, he's not very much. But yeah, so, I want to talk a little bit about Sayaka's witch, about Octavia. Because, like I mentioned it while we were recording, now that we know witches are magical girls, you can, like, talk about their labyrinths a lot more, right? And, figure out a bunch of things, with them. And, like, looking at Sayaka's, for example, there's, like, train tracks and, like, wheels because of the situation that happened on the train. Of course, there's, like, an orchestra because she saved, her wish was to...
so much of her life was about...
Yeah, her wish was to let Kyosuke play music again, and, like, obviously there's, like, the armor, because she was, like, the knight of justice, you know, like the knight in shining armor type character. But also
with a giant cape and the sword and everything.
Yeah, but also...
a labyrinth is a gallery of trauma.
Yeah, but also she's a mermaid. And that's important. Because that's when we start getting into shit like what the girls are kind of loosely based upon. And a loose influence for Sayaka's character is the original story of The Little Mermaid. Which, when Madoka and Kyoko are standing in the alleyway...
yeah, there's a mermaid and a unicorn, isn't there?
A mermaid and a unicorn, and that's Sayaka and Kyoko. So yeah, The Little Mermaid, because in the original tale, because I'm sure a lot of people have seen the Disney film, but in the original tale...
The Disney film is not the original tale, that's for certain.
Yeah, in the original tale, the mermaid doesn't get the guy goes with the girl who he thought was the one who saved him. And the girl has the option of killing the guy to get her life in the sea back, and ultimately chooses not to, and instead ends up, like, essentially, like, sacrificing herself, like, letting herself die.
Yeah.
And then with the unicorn, so there's German folklore for the unicorn is essentially, just really quick, it's a beast that's, like, very like wild and angry, and it can only be tamed by a maiden, hence Sayaka, which, if you're looking at that and telling me that isn't gay...
yeah, no.
Like...
Also, the other thing that I just remembered and really want to touch on, a specific scene that happens in the fight scene with Sayaka is when Kyoko has come to the realization of, like, I'm sorry, Sayaka, like you're worth it. To me, you're worth it. We see essentially a blue force representing Sayaka and the red force representing Kyoko, and vaguely shaped like them.
Yeah.
Intertwine and form a whirlpool that swirls together and mixes and
Kyoko's figure literally kisses Sayaka on the head. Like, whenever it's still in their form.
Quite literally. And in that thing, and it's like such a great representation of Kyoko, like, coming to terms with the fact that, like, not only is Sayaka worth it to her, but it's like Sayaka, like, doesn't have to go down alone. Like,
yeah.
Quite literally, like I want to be there for her.
Yes.
She doesn't have to be alone in death.
Yeah.
She might have been alone in life, but in death she doesn't have to be alone, and I want to be there for her.
It's so good. Because, there are complaints, I've heard people complain before, like, well, why didn't Kyoko just, like, kill Sayaka? And it's like, well, she tells you the reasoning. She doesn't want her to be alone. Because she cares about her. Like, makes total sense. Actually, I would have been kind of mad if Kyoko would have just been like, well, okay, I'm gonna kill Sayaka. You know what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah.
It would have been because they would have turned Kyoko into just a sort of wallowing, depressed character, and it's like, that's not Kyoko.
Right.
That's not her. She does not act out of emotion. She acts out of impulse and being selfish. But in that one moment, she realized that, like, she found the one person she wanted to be selfish for.
Yes.
She's
essentially
way too stubborn to just be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And I also want to talk about Madoka a little bit, like herself.
Let's talk about Madoka.
Yeah, so like up to this point, right? Because I know in like previous recordings and stuff, you've been like, well, Madoka's kind of bland, you know? And I think these episodes do a really good job of showing kind of Madoka's role in it. And her role is like carrying the burden of everybody else. And I love it.
That's the thing to me, is like, I still haven't changed my mind in previous episodes about like, oh yeah, in previous, Madoka is nothing. She's kind of a clean slate in more ways than one. But she is intentionally that, like, my thing was like, I don't know if they intentionally made her like that, or if it was just a weird oversight of like Madoka's not the focus, so we're not going to develop, like, we're not going to work on Madoka. It's like, okay, no, they were smart, they actually did account for it, there is a reason she's like that.
Yeah.
Because Madoka's main focus in the story is to, like, at the same time, this story is about Madoka, and it also isn't about Madoka. The story affects Madoka, and I feel like that's kind of the point. She takes on all this grief. She takes on everything going around her. She puts herself down because she does not see herself actually doing anything in this story except following those around her. She doesn't see how she can make an impact, and it's like, the way she's making an impact currently is the fact that she is both the grounding to humanity for all the magical girls, and also she is a constant reminder to them about, well, for majority of them, why they're fighting.
Yeah.
Like, for Homura, there's the obvious reason of, like, well, she clearly has some sort of history with Madoka in some shape or form, but also it's, like, Madoka symbolizes and represents this cataclysmic event that Homura knows is coming, and knows that Madoka is in some part involved in, and is, like, essentially day to day as things go by, Homura is focusing on Madoka and sort of acting purely upon that.
Yeah.
Whereas you have, like...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna go with, like, whereas Sayaka is, like, reflecting on the fact that she's constantly told that Madoka would be more powerful than her.
Oh no.
Oh, well, we'll just sit here.
Sorry about that.
go.
Ignore that.
Okay.
So Sayaka's constantly reflecting on the fact that Madoka would be more powerful than her. She's constantly told by everyone that, hey, you are acting too impulsively, you're acting too brash, you're rushing into things, you're going to get yourself hurt, you're not powerful enough, you can't do this without help, you need to practice, you need to train, you need to get better. And Sayaka constantly, as the story develops, her relationship with Madoka evolves from sort of best friends going on a journey together to she almost borderline resents Madoka in a way, but then resents herself for even entertaining the thought of resenting Madoka. Because it's like the scene when Madoka's like, can I come with you? And Sayaka's like, why are you so nice to me? Like, this, you shouldn't be. It breaks Sayaka because her humanity has been severed essentially with, like, Hitomi and everything going on there. But then you have Madoka constantly showing up in her life to be there for her because Madoka just cares.
Yeah.
And Sayaka grows to, like, the fact that Madoka is like this for Sayaka, in turn, ends up accidentally fueling Sayaka to go nuclear, essentially, because she turns it inward, and instead of accepting that Madoka cares about her, she almost rejects it and doesn't understand it anymore because she can't understand it because everything else in humanity, in her humanity, has been severed. It has been completely cut off. It makes no sense to her anymore. She no longer relates to it. But Madoka is the one thing that doesn't sever. She just is constantly there, and nothing Sayaka does gets rid of Madoka, because every time she does try to think of something or say, like, you're too nice to me, you shouldn't be too nice, she turns it inwards and go, why am I being like this to Madoka? Like, Madoka is, like, my best friend. She's like this. Like, why? Like, I'm awful for being like this to her. Like, and fueling herself further to, you know.
Yeah.
And, so...
become what she does.
Yeah, like, even...
Which yeah.
Oh, I was just
Hashtag relatable.
Going all the way back to Mami, with Mami's death, instantly you start to see Madoka, like, being the one to kind of carry all of the burdens. Because if you remember, like, after Mami died, Sayaka, like, tried to brush it off like nothing happened, and Madoka's like, can we talk about this? And Sayaka's like, no. And
Sayaka compressed it and tried to just move past it because she couldn't process it.
Yeah, and Madoka, you know, like, sat with that, and then you go forward more to Sayaka, and Sayaka, who's like, I can focus out the pain, it doesn't even hurt me anymore, and Madoka is crying, and she's like, I know it hurts you because it hurts me to watch you, and that's, like, a whole thing. And then you look at Kyoko, and it's like, Madoka came along with her, and that time she physically was hurt, like, physically had the burden, whenever Octavia
she's never
grabs
been
her.
able to
and
she's never been able to do anything on her own, and every time she's tried, either someone else has stood in and said, you can't do this, or has had it ripped away from her, like what Madoka did.
And like, and Kyoko's like, you know, I'm gonna bring you with me, I don't want you to get hurt, and then Madoka ultimately ends up getting grabbed by the witch and is, like, saved or whatever. And then if you even look at Kyubey, like, Kyubey is literally like, yeah, like, if you want to save the universe, you can. So even the burden of the universe is on Madoka's shoulders at this point. And really, the only character that Madoka isn't carrying the burden for currently is Homura, because Homura is carrying Madoka's burden, and I love it.
Because that's the thing. It's like Homura knows that's what Madoka's role is. Homura knows deeply about Madoka, knows, this is what Madoka is like, this is what her role is, this is what she does, this is how she interacts with those. So in that case, I cannot let her carry it for me, because it will end up destroying me, and if, like, in order to actually help Madoka, I need to shut her out in a way, which explains partially why she's so cold and emotionless with Madoka in the beginning, and still is until she breaks at certain points. But I also love, like, with Kyubey saying to Madoka, like, hey, you could save the universe, like make a contract with me. The fact that throughout various episodes where he's talking to Sayaka by himself as well, he's like, hey, Sayaka, you could save the universe, you could do a world of good as a magical girl. And Sayaka's like, oh wow, how? And Kyubey just every single time essentially sidelines her and goes, oh, make Madoka have a contract with me. He's like, yeah, that's how you do it. And it, like, reinforcing in Sayaka that, hey, you're not important. You're not the one that's going to be able to do anything. That you're not strong enough to do anything. Madoka is, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Kyubey, right? Kyubey is a really interesting antagonist because he's not
He's not evil. Yeah.
He's trying to do the better good for the universe. He just doesn't understand what he's doing. He's
so zoomed out in the grand scheme of things that it's on purpose. It's like he's so zoomed out in the grand scheme of things that he cannot and refuses to accept the actual small scale damage it has on individuals. Yeah. Because to him, it's like, if I accept that and if I look at it from that perspective, billions upon trillions of people, like, lose out. It's like, I need to zoom out to the grand scale of things, because, like, Madoka, 6.9 billion people on this planet, handful of people die so that they live, essentially, and can prosper. Like, I can't zoom in and care about those handful of people, because the rewards of doing this and making this sacrifice completely outweighs anything you could argue with the small scale of personal lives. And Madoka sort of refuses to accept that.
Yeah, and he even states while he's explaining this that they would do this with his own race if they could, but his race is incapable of feeling emotion, so they can't. Which I think is, like, he's literally like, hey, if we could do this ourselves, we would, but we can't, sorry. And I think
I feel itself is kind of a slight misdirection of a sort, because it's like, oh, well, clearly if we could do it with ourselves, we would, but we can't, because we can't feel emotions. It's like, you developed the technology. It's like, you clearly researched this in a varying capacity and tried to understand the power that it has. So it's like, I don't think you're really hung up, Cube, on the fact that you can't become a magical girl.
It's because they're extremely logical, right? So, like, that was never an issue in the first place. They were just like, we need a power source. What works as a power source? Oh, this works as a power source. Shit, we don't have that. Okay, who does have that? Them. Let's go work with them. And they do.
Yeah.
And I quote-unquote ask for consent every time. And just humans don't have the grasp of, like, what a miracle costs whatsoever.
Yeah, my thing is, like, that I agree with that. My thing I would go further with is that it is a convenience to Cube, the concept of the contract and the concept of, hey, like, we asked you this, like, we like, these are the terms, you get your miracle, like, and in return you become a magical girl and you fight witches.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and that's the thing, right? He says things like, I don't understand what tricking is, and that's obviously a fucking lie. He literally tricks Kyoko and, like, the next episode.
That's why I jokingly call Kyubey's people lawyers, because it's like, I mean, technically, Kyubey hasn't lied. What Kyubey has done has revealed the foil of the sort of errors and ways that a contract can be used to mislead and to completely guide someone on a path that they're not realizing. Because, hey, the magical girls don't really get written, like, the full contract. Like, there's no written contract that's like, here's your contract, read it and come back to me. It's like, no. Kyubey essentially tells them, conveniently for him, like, it's like, I'm not saying it from, like, Kyubey knows and is intentionally hiding it, like, because of, like, he's just so evil, because that's not true. He's hiding it out of convenience because, oh, well, I don't have to think about it, because it's like, it doesn't matter if they know or not, they'll sign it in the end.
Yeah, and
it'll get done. It's just easier if I don't tell them.
Yeah, and Kyubey's mindset,
because it'll be easier to sign them up.
Yeah, and Kyubey's mindset is like, this is the thing that makes sense, so why wouldn't they do it? So, like, I'm just not going to tell them everything. I'm just going to say, hey, become a magical girl, fight these things, grant you a wish, done.
That's why I say it's a convenience to Kyubey, because it's like, Kyubey very much knows, hey, it'll elongate the signing contract process if I just tell them literally everything. It'll take forever to tell them everything, and then they have to go through the moral questioning in their head about whether they are up for it and are okay with it. It's much quicker and more efficient to just tell them the very small snippets that, like, actually they can see at first hand, and give them the lure of the miracle and go from there. And it's like, that's why I kept in my mind when Kyubey was talking to, like, Madoka and Sayaka and was like, man, you guys are taking forever. Like, most girls just sign immediately. It's like, yeah, because Kyubey makes it that way.
Yes,
Kyubey finds either people in situations where, like with Mami, it's like, Mami, was it Mami who was in the car accident?
Yeah.
Yes, it was Mami.
Okay, it was Mami who was in a car accident. It's like, Kyubey shows up, it's like, gee, I wonder what Mami's wish is gonna be. Or like you're in such a precarious situation where it's like, you're like, they're obviously going to sign it. It's like it's not out of any sort of emotional sense of evil. It's out of a pure convenience of logic.
Yes.
And it's like, it's so convenient for Kyubey that Kyubey doesn't have to think about this. Kyubey doesn't have to think about the impact it has on small people's lives, because to him it doesn't matter.
Right.
To him, all that matters is getting the job done and getting these magical girls signed up. And that's like, the way to do that efficiently is to just not care and to actively obfuscate the role of magical girls and what magical girls are to those that he is trying to sign up. And that's why Kyubey's such a good villain.
Yeah, Kyubey's fantastic. He's a fantastic antag, yeah.
Because if Homura like shot Kyubey and then Kyubey came back and was like, "Muhahaha, you thought you could kill me? I have multiple copies. There's no way you could kill me. I'm so evil." I would have been like, "Fucking seriously?" Like, you have such a great villain and you're going to just like pretend to drop the curtain and, "Oh, this is what he's really like." It's like, no. Like, Kyubey has been the same all along.
Yes.
Like, ever since the beginning, Kyubey has been cold, logical, absolutely efficient and ruthless without care, and that is shone through in so many different like glimpses in episodes, and then it absolutely shatters the window, like specifically at the point where he's just like says to Madoka, "Hey, if you ever feel like dying for the universe, like, give me a call."
Yeah, let me know.
Like,
I'll be waiting.
Outright just saying, like, since you know all of this now, like, I'm not gonna bother being around, like, constantly hassling you, because, like, it's not efficient use of my time. So, just whenever you want to, just call me.
Yep.
And I'll be there. It's like, that's why he's so good, and I like him.
Yeah, he's really good. And, like, the fact that... Because, exactly like you said, it's not him changing, it's not his motivations changing, it's the girls finding things out. And I think that's really important, too. You know, it's not... Like, Kyubey's always been the same, he's always been a constant. And it's just been slow realizations that make him the antagonist, which is really interesting. But,
which is that's why it's so great, because the antagonistic reveal isn't a twist. It's not a twist at all. It is a development through story, and it's like a reflection of the fact that, hey, while Madoka goes through the story and learns about this new world and meets these new people and watches them suffer and die and feel horrible grief, like, we learn more about it, and Madoka learns about, like, the true intentions of Kyubey and, like, what Kyubey actually is, and it's like, yeah, if you, like, it was there all along.
Yeah.
Like, it was always there, but a lot of it was obfuscated because we were seeing it from Madoka's point of view, which is why it's so good. Why Madoka matters.
You had, like, predictions, by the way, as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, about halfway through episode 9, I believe, when Kyoko is like, "Hey, this is big bad thing's gonna happen, Madoka. Powerful witch is gonna descend, and shit's gonna be fucked. It's gonna be real fun. Let's fight it." I'm gonna speculate wildly for a minute here.
okay.
And it's not gonna be too wild because we've already introduced the concept of timelines.
Right.
So I have two separate theories about what Walpurgis Nacht could be.
Okay.
And what the entire 12 episodes actually is.
Okay.
The first one is... I mean, they're pretty similar. It's mainly just the minutiae of what is what.
Right.
I have the feeling that the dissension of witches is either a mass release of Grief Seed witches by Kyubey, either, like, essentially as like okay, we need to make Madoka a magical girl now, so
release the witches.
We need to put her in a position where she'll be forced to do that. So we know that Homura is going to fight the witches, and she can't fight them alone. There's no other magical girl left, so Madoka will be forced to sign the contract. And that's what we saw in the first scene, which I want to call a flash forward, but I don't want to call it a flash forward because I have this idea that's what Madoka's wish is. Like, Madoka's miracle wish is because Kyubey has kind of accidentally, but also on purposely, put it into Madoka's head that Madoka could control. Like, Madoka is so powerful with such a strong
They can
sense
be God, basically.
of life and justice that Madoka could be God and twist the universe. Twist being metaphorical, but I also feel in a literal sense, in that Madoka essentially not wants things to go back to normal or go back to the way that they were, but essentially pushes the reset button and sets the balance back to zero. Sets things back to the way that they were, in a sense that everyone is alive once more. And once the contract has been signed, things change in certain ways. But I also feel that's wrong in a certain way, because I feel like instead of a mass release of grief seeds, it could also just be Madoka herself. The dissension of witches, the powerful witch, is Madoka as a witch.
That was a very popular theory.
That's
something
what I
that
was
I hear,
thinking at first.
That's what I hear a lot. Like, when I watch this with people, because people normally are like, "Oh, well, episode 3 happens. Obviously, they're gonna wish for Mami to come back to life." The other thing, that's another thing that a lot of people think.
Yeah.
That's I like, okay, powerful, like real powerful witch, and I'm like, that feels like Madoka. Yeah. And then as I was thinking about it more and more, I was like, this feels too obvious, though.
Like, I'm not gonna, obviously I'm not gonna confirm or deny, but I'm just saying, like, it is something that a lot of people have thought.
I'm just sort of saying, like, as like Kyoko said, like, powerful witch, like, descending, I was like, it feels like the writers are, like, dropping breadcrumbs and, like, just dropped a massive loaf on the ground and was like, oh, what's this? And it's like, are you trying to misdirect me? It's like, it could be right, and I mean, I'd be fine with it, but it's like, it feels like there could also be more to it, because I mean, more is coming out as the story develops, but I feel like everything, the resolution and the final conflict has to do with the concept of a zero-sum game. It has to do with the fact that Madoka has fully accepts that there is a balance in the universe, and she, instead of accepting Kyubey's offer and becoming a magical girl to fulfill her role in sort of becoming the most powerful magical girl and then becoming the most wicked witch and fulfilling her balance that way, she fulfills a balance in a different way and resets things to essentially kind of outplay Kyubey in a way. Or it could go the depressing route, and Madoka realizes that there is no other option that she can do, and she accepts the contract, in which case the cycle begins again. Madoka becomes a magical girl, then becomes a witch, and then things progress in some sort of way. But the reason why I say that the first scene in the first episode isn't a flash forward, it feels like a flashback, that's why I sort of feel like Madoka's miracle wish has something to do with resetting the balance, because reflecting on that scene, now that we have the idea that Homura is not from this timeline, or at the very least the Homura that we see in certain scenes, because it's entirely possible that there are actually two Homuras right now, one from a different timeline and one that is the normal Homura that we know. I don't know if that's true. I haven't really thought about it, but it ran past my mind. I was like, that would be interesting. It would be a fairly kind of shocking reveal to have to sort of remind the audience about the concept of the timelines and the cyclical nature of magical girls and the cyclical nature of the story itself. But I sort of feel like that scene from the very first episode wasn't a dream that Madoka had. It was actually real, and the first episode is the start of the new timeline that we go through. Is the start of Madoka resetting things back to zero.
Mm-hmm.
How Homura came through into this timeline, I don't know. There's some possible way that I just don't know about yet, because I don't believe we've actually properly seen Homura fight, so it might have something to do with that. We've seen her fight small bits here and there, but not, like, actually, properly fight and use some sort of big, like, Mami with her guns, Sayaka with her swords, etc., etc. So it could have something to do with that, but it feels like this is Homura not coming back, but coming through to the next timeline in order to try and stop this cycle. Stop the cycle of Madoka becoming a magical girl and wishing for things to go back to normal whilst continuing in that timeline, creating the amount of energy that Kyubey wants, whilst also then trying to protect Madoka as well at every step that she can. Because every step that Homura has gone, she has tried to prevent Madoka becoming a magical girl. Because if Madoka becomes a magical girl, Kyubey gets what he wants, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. It's like, that's the way things are. That's the way the cycle goes. Kyubey meets Madoka. Madoka becomes a magical girl, and everlasting energy, and the consequences, some sort of consequences happen as a result of Madoka becoming a magical girl. And so Homura has made it her mission in this timeline to stop the cycle, either at her own request or at the request of Madoka in the previous timeline, essentially being like, listen, when things go to the next and things reset, like, I'm not going to remember anything, but we've found a way, like, you might be able to remember things and go through and stop this. Can you stop this, please? Because it's an everlasting cycle of torture.
Yeah. I was gonna say, so then, do we want a vibe check? Just, how we doing?
Yeah, I because of the way it's going and the way it handled Kyoko, because I was worried with how they would treat Kyoko, if you remember the last podcast episode. If you didn't listen to the commentary, I am very happy with the direction they took Kyoko. She wasn't annoying at all in any of these episodes. She absolutely went down the right path of
best girl,
essentially mentorship towards Sayaka, but in the process of mentorship, not like completely giving up who she is, but then reflecting on who she is in the end as she died. But I'd say currently I feel like this is more of a 10 now.
Yeah.
Because of everything going and like the directions that it could go. Because like I have other thoughts in my head of where it could go, but I don't want to say them because they're like not fully fledged. And like if I say them out loud, probably like halfway through saying it, I'd be like, yeah, that makes no sense. But it's like I'm excited to see where it goes, and I really, really do hope I'm right about it playing on the nature of cycles and a zero-sum game, and Madoka being both the most important to Kyubey's plans, but also the most sort of the one who, because she's so powerful, is also the one most dangerous to his plans, because now that she, like, now in this timeline that she knows, like, in previous timelines it might be the same as well, but now in this timeline especially, that she knows more about what being a magical girl actually is, and what the purpose is, and the fact that they're just being exploited and used, essentially, as battery farms for Kyubey and the universe, is Madoka may be in more of a position to actually stop it and end the cycle, or come to end the cycle and accept that the cycle is needed. And without it, the universe is filled with pain. Anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Hell yeah. I give this a 2 out of 10. I hate it. Yep.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Deer also hates it a lot.
Oh, were we watching something? I was playing horse racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were watching Ikitozen.
Yep.
Oh.
God damn it.
Spooky's favorite anime.
Yep.
Yeah, I now understand what you mean, Spooky, in the first episode where you were like, yeah, the first episode of the podcast is going to be the shortest, because I just look at the time and it's been nearly an hour and a half already.
Yeah, that's literally why I was like, do we want to vibe check? It's been a bit. It's been a little bit.
Anything else you'll want to talk about with this?
Nope.
Sayaka and
Everything
Kyoko,
I want to talk about
forever.
is in the last episodes.
People listening, if you want to leave a comment, tell me if you prefer blue and red flavored lesbians or black and pink flavored lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite lesbian? Tell us today.
Yes.
Also, don't forget to go around to your next anime convention that you see and dress as Madoka the Joker.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye!
Bye.
No, goodbye, everybody. See you in the final episode of the TV show before we get to the third movie.
Yeah.
Will Kyubey go to jail? Who knows?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.